Hi there, welcome to my channel. If you're coming back, you might have noticed my setup is a bit different. For the very first time, I will be wet felting. It's not for the entire project, just for Tangles cords. I've got my bubble wrap, water, bamboo roll, olive oil soap, spray bulb, towel, and most importantly, wool. This is all the blue wool I have, so I'm going to be combining it with this slightly darker blue. So hopefully these will be enough. I'm going to use this white wool for the base. Honestly, I'm not sure how much wool it'll pull out, so let's go with this. Lay it out long ways and give it a dry roll to stretch the wool out to its full potential. Get your spray bulb and soapy water ready. The holes are so small it can't even inhale the water. Spray the bubble wrap and roll the wool over it to soak it up. To get an even roll, grab the bubble wrap and push it down with your wrists as you roll. The friction from the bubble wrap will help bind the fibers together. If you think you need more soap, you don't. Just squeeze out the cord and use that soap. The cord's still looking a bit flat. Just like needle felting, it takes a bit of time for the wool to become solid. Squeeze the soap out again. See how it doesn't lose its shape? That's what we're looking for. If I had more blue wool, I would be using it for this process, which would slice the craft time in half. Time to dry. Put the mat over the towel and place the cord in the crook of the mat and mimic the same motion for the bubble wrap step. You get the idea. Time to color. Tear out small tufts of blue wool and lay them in a single direction. Don't worry too much about the ends, the wool will stretch out. Water the cord that was just dried. And water the top of the wool. I'm going to push the wool down. Nope, bad idea. Don't do that. Place the cord at the top of the wool and brush the ends of the wool over the cord like it was a bad comb over. I like using the soap like glue, but that's not what it does. It's supposed to make everything easier to slide around on the bubble wrap. Whirl it up like a fruit roll-up. And again, don't worry about the ends. It'll get covered up with this next part. The next part is just part 1 again. I get nervous when approaching a new craft, but this has been pretty easy. I've even been playing with the idea of making an egg handbag, and the yoke can be a pocket. Let me know if you guys would be interested in seeing that. Now you can see how much excess wool's hanging off the ends, so I'm gonna cut them off. You can't even see the white cord. Close off the ends with glove hand. And then pretend to start a fire. After making all these, I had little wool left to spare. Nice. And here we are. Time to make Tangela's body. That's said in quotes. We technically don't know what Tangela looks like underneath all those vines, but for now, we can make a sphere, and here's why. As you can see, Gen 1 is devoured in surprisingly straight noodles. Gen 2 now has Tangles, the iconic red shoes, but the eyes, they're further apart. At this point, we've only seen dark oblivion on the inside, but you can't really do that with a 3D model. This is where the sphere comes in. Okay, purple handle sucks. It feels like it's not even tearing the wool. This one feels like it's actually doing its job. Let's take a closer look. They seem to have the same amount of notches, but the purple one's so much thicker. Moving on to the legs, which are just cylinders. So far, pretty simple shapes we're working with. Get this trash out of here. Now we're gonna step into a more complex shape, a shoe. I'm gonna add the cuff of the shoe first. That way, when I'm done making the base, the cuff can be the attaching point. With the base of the shoe, start by making a thin oval. With the disc done, we can now combine the two. Adding more wool will help bound them together, while also giving the shoe a round vamp. Let's kick off this next step by creating a gash and jamming the legs in. If you were to use different colors for these segments, you could essentially make Pac-Man. Grab more wool to secure the legs in place. Let's make the eyes. Roll up some white wool and make a medium circle. If the wool's too long, it can be trimmed down. When making the pupil, you barely need any wool, just enough to make 2 beady dots. With that done, we can now add its namesake. It's the Tangles. So I had to restart and make thinner cords, but before I redid those cords, I wanted to see if I could fix the problem by cutting the thicker cord in half, but that was impossible for me. Then the blue sleeve came off like a snake shedding its skin, and then it wouldn't reattach. So I had to buy more wool since I didn't have enough to restart. I needed to make the cords thin enough to wrap around her ankles. Start by running the cord down the leg and then coil the rope loosely around it. Shove the end through the loosely made coils and tie the ends together. Back to what I said about how we don't know what Tangela looks like under the vines. In my research to find reference images, I found this exposed ankle. How scandalous. Don't cut the excess off, we're going to tuck them in once we get a solid build going. For the first vine, get a pin and anchor it in place. That way we can create loops without the vines slipping and sliding around. I'm trying to get a good start on the frame around her face. When adding new vines, just slip them through any loop you can find. If you end up not liking the look of the tangle you just made, it's easy to withdraw the vine from the hoop and try a different loop. That way, it can come together as a group. Once you like where the vine is, secure it by playing a fun little game of find the right cord to pull. There's not really a plan of where I'm placing the cords. Wherever I see a gap, I just focus on covering it up. Sometimes when I go to make a knot, the placement will look good, but then it turns out I was just looping it around itself or a phantom hoop. Now that I have enough vines in the way, I'm able to tuck the loose ends of the ankle cords. The sooner you tuck them in, the less work you have to do shoving them underneath the mass of tangles. I even ended up chipping my nail, but that's not saying much. I have very fragile nails. Another reason is because in my confusion of this labyrinth, I ended up pulling the ends out thinking it was a loop I could use. Nope, it was not. As I move this around, I can't help but have the urge to pop her body out, but I don't want to lose all that work if the structure ends up collapsing in on itself. It's gotten to the point all the vines look the same, and I don't know what's connecting to what, who's tangling with who. It's giving me that panicked feeling like when tape is stuck to your finger. Once I ran out of cords and the length of the ones in use, it was time for a trim. If you want, you can needle felt the severed ends into the rest of the vines to blend them in. I left some of the smaller nubs behind because I like the look of the messy loose ends. I suddenly remembered I had plastic eyes that I could use for the pupils, so I made a last-minute change. They both look good, I just like the shine that the plastic eyes give off. Thank you for checking out this video. Like and subscribe if you want to see... Oh. Anyway, like I was saying, if you want to see more, like and subscribe. Let me know if you have requests for upcoming videos. Now scream!